Welcome back, Aces, to another X-Wing battle report. Today we have myself flying against my buddy Matt, and I am using Rear Admiral Chiraneau with Push the Limit, Rebel Captive, Ysanne Isard, Darth Vader, Seismic Charge, and Engine Upgrade, as well as standard Soontir Fel with Targeting Computer, Auto Thrusters, Push the Limit, and his Royal Guard tie.
And Matt is flying with two Red Squadron veterans with Weapon Guidance, Push the Limit, R2 Astromechs, and the integrated Astromech modification, along with Poe Dameron with Push the Limit, R5 P9, and Auto Thrusters. So, kind of have the two-ship build going on versus the kind of sort of three ace build.
Yeah, the three new T-70s, I really like those T-70s. I mean, they're extremely durable. They can just dish out a lot of damage, and they can really take a punch and stay in the fight. And it's really nice that two ship builds are still relevant in the meta. I know that everybody's ranting and raving about the four Y-Wings with TLTs, kind of taking the two ship builds out, but
as this game is going to show, this really two ship builds are still very much a part of the meta and any consideration. And furthermore, it's going to show that you really can't count anyone out until the last sort of second.
Right.
So here was some range 3 plinking going on, just sort of tossing out shots.
Chiraneau with that large ship boost to push range right away for the opening engagement.
It's really devastating to have engine upgrade on those big ships. They can move so far, and they can really change angles, especially if they're turrets. They can really get up and go and get out of arcs you really wouldn't believe. It's kind of scary to see a gigantic ship like the Decimator turn into an arc dodger.
Yeah. There's Chiraneau just staying just out of range of arc. With the T-70s moving up, looking to go and engage with Fel right away, pushing him off as one of the major threats.
I think the key to defeating these kinds of ship builds is to really pick a target and then focus that one down. And here, I think we see that Matt's chosen to try and fight Fel and focus on Fel, which is, I mean, it's a tough choice sometimes because Fel's such a arc dodger. He can get away from ships so easily. Sometimes it's really hard to choose between the two.
I usually like to pick on the Decimator right away. I mean, 0 agility, yeah, it's got a lot of hull, but I mean, if you're throwing 3 T-70s at it, 9 dice a turn, I mean, you should be able to tear it down pretty quick. But, you know, if experience has taught me anything, if you get shots at Fel, you take on Fel right away.
Yeah, I agree. If you can see him, it's... With multiple ships especially, it's probably a good idea to try and take those shots while you can. And I think here we're about to see a little bit of a mistake on your part.
Yeah, just a little bit. It was my first time using Fel in a few months, and I really wanted to get real aggressive with them. I usually fly Fel a little bit more defensively instead of using the targeting computer. I usually throw stealth device on them just for some extra survivability, especially with the TLTs out there. And lately, my dice have been pretty poor with them, and that extra targeting computer, being able to arc dodge and still staying into range 1 with Fel, and just always like having the target lock instead of just an extra evade dice. It's gone pretty well, but I'm trying to get Fel a little bit too aggressive in there. I really expected him to cut in and try to work on that Decimator a little bit, and he just didn't go for it.
Yeah, Fel is maybe one of the best, if not the best, pilot skill 9 ship in the game, but he's really fragile. If he gets caught out of position like here, it's really tough. You really got to be praying to the dice gods to let you live through that.
Yeah.
And 3 T-70s all pointing at you with some dice mod upgrades. It's gonna hurt.
Yeah, 9 dice all in range 2. It's not a happy spot for Fel. And spending some tokens, trying to do what I can.
Maybe we have a clean shot from Chiraneau on one of those Red Squadron veterans.
Trying to start working on him. Fell not getting any work done. I'm getting a couple through.
Yeah, I mean, I think the T-70s are really vulnerable to plink damage, especially with the integrated Astromech upgrade. They tend to, I think it makes pilots feel a little invulnerable. Like, they can take that big hit, and they can sort of take that big devastating hit and use that Astromech to keep them alive for another turn. That's great, but like, if you're just doing one damage over and over a course of a long game, that's really going to kill them. There's really not much that R2 can do about that one.
Yeah. And taking those red squads. Well, get another crit through, and that looks like the end of Fell.
Losing Fell this early, man, it's hard to keep your morale up when you lose like half of your fleet in a single, in the second round of the game. It's got to be pretty devastating.
Well, you lose 3 hull, and I mean, yeah, losing 3 hull out of your 17. I still got the full decimator out there. I mean, nice turreted ship. I mean, Poe's the only one with auto thrusters right there, but those other T-70s, as long as I can remain out of arc with those guys, then I should be all right. I mean, having boost on Chiraneau really helps out, especially with these Isard. Being able to push off of that evade token, boosting during the start of the combat step is just so strong.
It really is. It basically turns any Devastator that has her and the ability to use it into a pilot skill infinite kind of like ship, because it can always move last, which it can just be pretty devastating. I was interested to see Matt go straight here. I know that he was trying to clear that stress that he generated earlier, but I probably would have banked, but I guess that may have put Poe out of position because he can't 2-bank like the rest of them because he doesn't have that R2 Astromech.
Well, the Decimator is big and wonky, and if he can stay hugging on that side of the table, he should be able to line up and get into a decent knife fight with it, where the Decimator is just going to be taken apart, but...
I definitely think that if the 2 ranges that you want to be with a Decimator are either range 1 or range 3, because I think these T-70s, 3 T-70s at range 1, that's a really unhappy day for a Devastator, and 3 T-70s at range 3, that's still an unhappy day, because those T-70s now, they're rolling 3 dice, and Chiraneau's still just rolling 1. This is an interesting move on Matt's part, this Talon roll here. I think he could have gotten away with a 4K, and I think that would have set him up better because you would have had that range 3 situation. But I guess he decided that he wanted to get close in. And I guess we'll see how that played out for him.
Well, if Chiraneau stays hugging on that edge with like a 2-bank and stays right on that board edge, by Talon rolling, I think he's avoiding the parking lot, I guess, which would be the next turn, and hopefully maintaining as many shots as possible on him. The Decimator is not something that you want to get into a one-on-one fight with and get your fleet split up with.
Yeah, but I think in this case, the 4K would have given Matt more options. He could have cut in. He could have kept going forward. I think right now he's a little constrained in terms of maneuvering options, especially with that innermost T-70. He can't cut in with the rest of them if they want to do that next turn.
Yeah. After that Talon roll, he's got a real tough decision, taking a second stress on Poe just to take shots on him. Looks like he's going for it here.
Rebel Captive, such a powerful card. it's funny you don't see it as often as you think you would.
Yeah. I really like it on the Decimator. I've seen it used on Phantoms before, and it's not bad. But with the Decimator, there's always going to be somebody shooting at it, and yeah, not always there's a ship that really cares about having the stress, but especially in a mixed fleet like Matt is flying today, your highest pilot skill guy just taking extra stress all the time, not being able to use push the limit. I mean, it really just tears the effectiveness of some of the higher aces.
Yeah, especially when you're counting on that ability to stress yourself for PTL. That's a big thing. I mean, we've seen how stress bot for the Rebels is such a powerful thing, but certainly Rebel Captive. And I think to your earlier point about the Phantom, I mean, you can lose a Phantom in a single attack.
Yeah.
There's no one single attack that's going to kill a Devastator.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're going to get hopefully multiple turns worth of use out of the Devastator, and that's just not true of the Phantom.
Yeah.
So here we have another interesting decision by Matt. Clearing that stress, that's good, got to do that. Moving forward too, I think that's another good choice. It's kind of constraining your movement options with the Devastator. Maybe you'll bump. If you don't, you're probably going to be in a better position here. But this right here with Poe, I get that he really wants Poe to bump because that'll keep Poe alive for a little while longer, but I really feel like if Poe had gone 2 forwards, it would have really constrained your movement options here. The Devastator only bumps if it goes 1 forward or 1 bank, and those are just not altogether the most expected maneuver I would look for.
Yeah, and I don't think that Decimator, the position he's in, would be able to run 4 forward and clear that T-70. I think he would have bumped anyway, but being able to pull off this 3-turn right here is really huge.
I think it's super huge because now Poe is completely out of position, still has those 2 stress on him, so it's going to take him now another 2 turns of green maneuvers to be able to clear all that stress, and he doesn't have a shot, whereas, he would have cleared a single stress and then bumped you, which would have prevented some actions, which could have been really, really awesome. And those T-70s behind him would have all had shots, and this boost here is just, it must have been so disheartening for Matt, because he thinks he's at least going to get 2 shots, and now he's not going to get any.
That big shit boost coming into play.
Oh man, it's just really frustrating to have an arc dodger that's the size of your face.
Yeah. Especially one that can just dish it out with the turret, especially with Chiraneau. He just doesn't really care about those focus symbols, flipping them to crits. Really strong.
And Vader on top of that. I'm not sure I like it, but I definitely get the ability to get a shot every turn and still use it to get that crit. Of course, the Devastator has a lot of hull, so.
Mm-hmm.
So here, the difficult decision of any T-70 player, whether or not to use the integrated Astromech on a crit, and he was forced to do so just to live on that last crit. But
ditching your R2 Astromech to keep a ship alive. It's really strong, and a 0-point upgrade, I really like it.
Oh, it's a super powerful ability. I think it's really great. I think it makes the T-70 from a good ship into an amazing ship. I think it's so strong of an ability, and I really think it helps the old X-Wings, which you do not see. But it's a hard decision to make sometimes.
Yeah, I like the integrated Astromechs with the red squadrons that he's got going on, but I think Poe and some of the other higher pilot skill guys really want the auto thrusters for their survivability.
Well, Poe definitely does. I mean, his ability just syncs so well with auto thrusters to the point where it's really difficult to make a roll where you don't get 2 evade results when auto thrusters is able to proc. Now, this is another decision that I think is interesting on the part of Matt. He splits his fleet up right here. I get the desire to kind of stick around and keep damaging and trying to put some damage in, but I think giving Chiraneau a single target to shoot at for multiple turns is just a way to lose a ship, I think. I think disengaging here and regrouping the entire fleet together would have made it a much more threatening, because now you have to start thinking about all the ships here. And now, suddenly, instead of being able to focus on the already wounded ship, he's going to be able to wound this one and have 2 turns to potentially kill it. And you've got a wounded ship, which Chiraneau will shoot before, and then Poe.
And that seismic charge. The Decimator seismic charge, it either is entirely irrelevant or it makes the entire difference in any game. I've seen and I've had a Decimator seismic charge take out Fel many times.
Well, 1 automatic damage is huge, and the thing is, people they don't practice against bombs because they're mostly irrelevant. So that 1 clutch time when it happens, they're not prepared for it, and it's devastating.
Yeah, I always forget about it.
Yeah, I think bombs are an interesting aspect of the game. I'm not quite sure they're very good, but I mean, seismic charge, it's only 2 points. It's not that bad, especially when you're sinking all of these points into these 2 ships anyways. Having a little bit of a security may not be a bad idea.
Throwing A damage out, and especially at high pilot skill like Chiraneau, pilot skill 8, seeing where everybody's going, it's like, alright, well, is he going to be in range for a seismic charge? I mean, just dropping it, just getting an extra damage in is just so huge. Just really, really strong. It's just unavoidable damage.
And unavoidable damage is great because maybe you've been shooting at a Fel for 2 or 3 turns, and that stealth device, which is such a common aspect of Fel builds, has just been protecting him over and over thanks to auto thrusters and his, tokens. Now you got a way to just instantly damage him, take that stealth device off, maybe break some damage through later on.
That's why I really like Vader on Chiraneau as well. I mean, just taking shots at an enemy Fel or anything, and just, all right, well, I whiffed it. Your auto thrusters kicked in. Blank the dice at range 3, and just still being able to nuke damage out, and you've got 16 hull just to deal with it. You just don't really care, and especially if you're running a build similar to what I'm using here, you're looking to take at least your shields and a hull to get Ysanne Isard, to give you that extra maneuverability in the combat step. It really makes ships with pilot skill higher than Chiraneau more irrelevant. Because just having the ability to be able to boost during the combat step.
And certainly, I mean, Doom Shuttle was popular for a long time. Now, you get essentially, 6 more hit points worth of usage out of it. It's hard.
A lot more maneuverable ship as well.
Certainly a lot more maneuverable. No reds is a huge aspect of why Devastator gets as much hate as it does.
Those range 3 shots through asteroids in the garbage time.
It's funny. I mean, I think this is the bad situation for Matt because of dice rolls, but this is really the ideal situation for chasing a Devastator because, hey, he's getting 2 dice, but you're getting 3, you have 3 dice. Hopefully you're not going to have to spend your modification. Matt here did, but if you didn't, you're really statistically averaging to get some damage through, and any damage on a Devastator is good.
Mm-hmm.
especially if you can crit them, just because there's so many opportunities for all those nasty crits to just go through.
Oh, that new damage deck is just brutal.
Which is great. I love that new damage deck. I love the fact that all the crits now have something. None of them are quite as devastating as certain crits were back in the day. Like, certain builds just hated to get, certain crits, and that was just devastating. It was, game over for them. But now, everything hurts a lot. It's just not game over, and I really like that.
Yeah. I mean, if you score a crit on a ship, it should actually do something. A lot of the old damage cards were just completely irrelevant for most ships, and it was just taking an extra damage.
Well, what was it? Weapons malfunction or something like that from the old damage deck for like
secondary.
Yeah, discard your secondary. Ooh, big whoop! Like for most builds, that's just nothing. But for like a TLT list and a Y-wing list in general, and it's just game over. Or worse, the worst yet, like Dash. Like that was just a huge, devastating crit for a Dash build. Now, you don't get that, and everything tends to be just a little bit more harmful for everybody. I think that's how crits ought to be. You should never be like, I don't care about that when a critical comes up.
Yeah, no, I really like it. They did a really good job with it.
Honestly, I think that's the thing about X-Wing really is it's had a really strong, consistent run. Like it's very. I just don't think you really see ships that you're just like, that was a really stupid decision from them. I mean, even things like the Hawk, or like the TIE Advanced back in the day before the Avenger came out, or Aggressor, that was. I mean, you could see what they were trying to do with it, and you could see they put a lot of thought into it. And, it was useful for a time, and so even these subpar ships, you can definitely tell they're not that useless.
And here's that new damage deck at work. Looks like another crit cascading into another one, and I believe that looks like Chiraneau's down to pilot skill 0.
That's a pretty big win right here for Matt. That's
Those range 3 shots at the Devastator can really hurt.
Yeah, I think range 3 on a Devastator is just where it's a really happy spot for most ships. They're getting that extra defense against that high attack value, and Devastator's just not really able to capitalize on as much as you want to. Sadly, this T-70 here is range 2.
Chiraneau's still got pilot skill 8 for this round, so using that, trying to take out that last T-70.
Yeah.
Down to 1 hull, no more Astromech.
It's hard to live through that. Yeah, and it looks like, you had a great roll, 2 hits and a crit.
On the plus side, Chiraneau will be able to get that Ysanne Isard, getting a little bit extra survivability. I mean, that one evade token, you wouldn't think it would amount to much, but it really helps out.
Well,
especially the late game. I mean, regular Devastator builds, they're probably going to be the last ship alive, and having that extra evade token against 2 or 1 of your enemy ships, provided you've killed something, is just so strong. And I mean, for 3 or 4 turns, I mean that's 3 or 4 damage that you're just negating.
Yeah, and I mean, people love C-3PO because he's a guaranteed dodge turn, and this is the same thing, except it's if you don't need it, you never waste it, right? Like it's never wasted. Sometimes C-3PO is a little wasted. He's a guarantee, but sometimes he's a little wasted. This never wasted.
Yep, much less dicey. And here we forgot about the pilot skill 0 crit already. It's certainly not the first time, and won't be the last time I've forgotten about that.
Fortunately, I don't think it was too
it was
advantageous.
Fairly obvious where his T-70 was going to end up, and he's still got a boost. Chiraneau obviously would have boosted there just to push range and try to push out of the arc of Poe there.
See, that's again another interesting maneuvering decision from Matt here. I guess he decided that he would try and box you in if you cut in, but if he'd gone straight, he'd probably have a shot on Chiraneau, and might have been able to do even more damage. And Poe could have been able to take the focus, not push for anything. So he'd have full auto thruster shot, probably expect to survive most of a hit, and get some damage through.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just call it the wrong way.
Yeah, it happens. It happens to the best of us.
I certainly know when my opponent has done something I don't expect, and I'm just waiting for my turn to move my ship and reveal what an idiot I've been is not the thing I look forward to most. And here we go again, forgetting about the pilot skill 0 crit.
Well, don't worry, Ethan. We'll let you know when you're being an idiot.
All the time. But I think it's probably safe to assume you're being an idiot rather than not.
Yeah, forgetting about that pilot skill 0 again. And Poe trying to avoid some more stress.
But at the same time, I mean, he kind of nets the same. I might have almost gone through, sure, taken the potential for a crit, but I might have set myself up for a better re-engagement later on in the game, just by going over that debris token there.
Yeah, Poe is almost completely out of this fight now, at least for 3 turns.
And he's been that way for so long. It's just it's hard when with a 3-ship build and especially with a 2-ship build, these smaller ship builds, you need to have most of your fleet pointing at the thing you need to kill most of the game.
Yeah.
And I think here we've seen that, although these T-70s are strong platforms, able to do a lot of damage, it's just, if they're not all pointed in the same direction, something like, something you can live through a lot.
Yeah.
Here, I think there's a slight forgetting about the Rebel Captive, but I don't think it's mattered too much. With that R2 Astromech, those T-70s have such a huge range of movement. It's almost hard to do something that isn't green.
Uh-huh. Those Red Squad vets are almost mini Poes, and with weapons guidance, they're almost always going to have target lock focus up, and they're almost always going to be getting rid of their stress. It's a really strong build. It's pretty expensive, but I certainly wouldn't mind flying an ace with 2 Red Squad vets the way that Matt has them.
Yeah, no, it's my favorite card in the game, just because it's the weapon guidance. It just solves a lot of those crappy rolls that you get, and it gives you a huge percentage chance of doing 2 damage or more. Basically, if you do a hit, you're doing 2 damage. That's huge as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Man, it is just scary how maneuverable that Devastator is. Being able to 2-turn like that, I mean, I know the YT-24 and the YT-1300 and the Aggressor, the IG-88 ship, are all more maneuverable, they have more turns, but they do not have 16 hit points. And this thing turns on a dime, as far as I'm concerned.
That extra boost, especially during the combat step, you can almost see it coming here.
Yeah, you can almost see. It must have been. It's frustrating to set up against a ship like that, and then to know that it's coming, to know that this is going to get out of your arc, and there's just nothing you can do about it. That's real upsetting.
It's so hard to box in with only 3 ships as well. Especially when Poe's just out of the fight forever.
Yeah, if Poe had been in here, I think that may have been a lot. Poe has a lot of maneuverability. These T-70s have a lot of maneuverability. They just have to be able to react to it.
Yeah.
And that's the benefit of that Ysanne Isard action is you can really tough. I mean, because here we see it. Chiraneau has pilot skill 0, and he is able to make a reaction that would go after someone like Fel or Vader or Poe or Wedge, any pilot skill 9 or 11.
Yeah, and for the purposes of arc dodging, just not caring when he moves. I mean, it's almost better for him to move first. Just avoiding that bump to get an extra action for a target lock or a focus.
Can you imagine if they could take the sensor suite and took enhanced scopes? That would be...
Oh, that would be ridiculous. I would use it.
It might be, solid case for enhanced scopes.
Yeah, there's not a lot of them out there.
I think this is the dead T-70, which is sad.
And hot dice going on for Chiraneau again. And all that's left is to try and chase down a Poe.
This is not the situation you typically tend to find. Someone says, well, there was a Poe and a Devastator fighting each other. You don't expect to see the Devastator chasing Poe.
At the start of this, I would not have expected to be where we're at right now. Losing Fel on the opening shots, and Rear Admiral Chiraneau just sweeping house.
Yeah, this has been. I mean, this is a great demonstration that if you split up your fleet like that and you go man to man, Chiraneau, he can take it. I mean,
he's got the maneuverability to arc dodge. He can dish out a lot of punishment.
And because he's got a turret, he doesn't care about his facing as much. So all that extra maneuverability, thanks to the boost, is really maximally used. And I think this is a...
He's got the hull to tank it, too.
Yeah, and...
looks like only one hit from Poe, getting rid of...
unfortunate roll. He could have really used some crits there. Like a no-shooting crit would have been really useful.
He's taking an extra stress. Poe's pretty much going to be stressed for the rest of the game here, I think.
And actually here he loses all his shields, so it's pretty much game because Vader can just... Chiraneau has the hull to be able to Vader Poe to death without even doing any damage on his dice, so I think this is pretty much game.
Chiraneau with 7 hull left. Vader's not really gonna swing him into a spot where he's gonna be able to take him out right away.
Yeah, Poe's... with that asteroid in the way, Poe's gonna have a hard time getting a shot off.
Yeah. Not being able to 2-turn, 3-turn might make it. Nope, and that's what he did. We'll see. Oh, it looks clean.
Yeah, but I just think it's you really gotta. There's just not that much he can do here. He's got to get basically all hits and crits.
And that's not the role he needed.
It's really not the role he needed, so I think that's about it for the game.
Poe just didn't want to show up today.
Well, sometimes it just happens. It's
And there's 2 and a crit, and it looks like it's blanked out.
Well, and I think it might even be a double damage, and then you just Vader it, and that's the game, or you Vader again. It's game over here. Poe can fight a valiant fight, but oh, it's 2 crits. Yeah, Poe's definitely dead here. That's this game. He gets another attack, sure, but
yeah, with 2 stress on him, he's not going to be able to get anywhere where he needs with that decimator.
And he's not going to be able to do enough damage to kill Chiraneau before he strikes back. So
still having enough hull to throw another Vader out there just to finish him off.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see when you're flying Poe. Just a great demonstration of the need to keep some kind of like formation, not necessarily like a strict like box or pinwheel or something like that, but the need to keep your ships together and to coordinate your fleet so that they're all working together is really important. This is
well, it worked really good against Fels at the start of the game. And with no arc for Poe, that's an easy kill for Vader. If you have a list that you want to see, leave a comment below and make sure to hit that like button for more X-Wing videos. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.